Folks, hello and welcome to Tavern Chat. I'm Eric Tenkar, your bartender in the OSR, your main proprietor. At the Tenkars Tavern blog, I talked with Jeff Talanian. And I was like, Jeff, I really would love to read your statement about Gary on the video. Uh, Jeff was like, please, fine, do so. But he does have one change. So when I get to that part of the change, I will I will give you the updated part where he thinks he didn't express himself as well as he would have liked to. So, without further ado, in defense of Gary, this is Jeff Talanian, December 5th. Today is the 7th. Here I am a few years ago at the filming. He has a picture, by the way, of a wonderful documentary, The Dreams in Gary's Basement. It was an incredible honor to be included in this discussion on the history of Dungeons and Dragons and Gary's role in vaulting his co creation to the stratosphere. My joy is evident in this photo. I had the privilege to work as Gary's co author in his final years, and I considered him to be a friend and a mentor. I was happy to share my appreciation of his genius in this film. Now, however, the people in charge of the very brand he created, people who are employed only because of him and his work, are dragging his name and reputation through the mud, as well as the names and reputations of his incredible peers who helped build the incredible hobby of role playing games as we know it today. Growing up, Gary was a great inspiration to me. I studied his works time and time again. I still do. It is not to say that he was a flawless individual outside of his creative pursuits. Sure, he made occasional off the cuff, sometimes derogatory comments, particularly egregious when examined under the microscope of the ultra fragile modern lens. No one is perfect, but to see his legacy and reputation besmirched by the creatively bankrupt, ingrates, and grievance specialists in control at Wizards of the Coast, who now operate the brand he built, is disgusting. I will not sit idle and allow Gary's good name, as well as the names of his talented peers, Arneson, Kuntz, Ward, Menser, et al., throw in Tim Kask, to be dragged through the mud by a cadre of self aggrandizing corporate hacks and opportunists. I regret these. I reject these people and everything they stand for. Move on to the next slide. One second, folks. There we go. Others in my position might ignore this malicious character assassination, maybe because they might be intimidated by cancel culture, or because they have an invested interest in currying the favor of these lunatics. But I have no such qualms. Except for Rob Kuntz, the original founders of this great hobby are no longer alive to defend their reputations, which, to me, makes these attacks even more pathetic and cowardly. Now, the next paragraph is the one where Jeff has a revision. I'm going to read the original, then I'll go to the revision, which I have on my phone. Anyone has a right to disagree with my take, but it's not going to dissuade me from defending the honor of my deceased friend and mentor, E. Gary Gygax. For goodness sakes, these demented cretins have discredited Gary and his peers in their new updated version of the Dungeon Master's Guide. I'll get you the update. Give me a second. The Dungeon Master's Guide, the quintessential Gygaxian masterpiece, is beyond blasphemous and treasonable. They should be ashamed. So again, Jeff said about me bringing this to the video. Sure, there's just one part where I seem to have not worded things satisfactorily. Gary's name was not bashed in the new DMG. Rather, it was his work. Greyhawk, eviscerated, cleansed, and represented in a way I found creatively offensive and disrespectful to Gary. They made his Greyhawk year 576. Now remember, they could have changed the year. An exercise in diversity, equity, and inclusion. There's a document several pages long that lists all the changes they made to Greyhawk in an effort to make it more appropriate for a modern office. My take is that they could have created their own setting and done whatever they wanted with it, or they could have advanced the Greyhawk timeline by a few centuries and made wholesale changes. Both of these options, however, would require hard work, creativity, and imagination. All things these cretins lack. No one has gone back to the original. No one has gone through life without making a few comments that might be regrettable later, especially decades later. How many people have created an entire hobby? The Wizards of the Coast attempts at delegitimizing Gary's stature as a creator because of the same flaws that everyone has is just pure envy and jealousy. These half-wits believe they are holier than thou. They are not. I stand with Gary. Now, folks, I never met Gary. Obviously, I never worked with him. However, I did communicate with him once directly on N World, and he was gracious. He was a pleasure to deal with and invited me to game if I was ever in the area of Lake Geneva on his back porch with him. And, even as an adult, that was a very gracious offer. And sadly, I never had the opportunity to take him up on that. Donka, step away from that. So, on that note, folks, if you have any comments, any thoughts, any observations, please feel free to leave them. Other than that, be safe, be well. God bless. Roll those dice, roll them well. There's a live stream at 8 o'clock. It should be very interesting. Not Gamers Health. Gamers Health will be tomorrow, Sunday, at 8 p.m. All right, folks. On that note, I'm out of here. Laters.